Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Well, hello there. Are you ready for our first podcast of the new year?
Oh my God, it's true. It's our first podcast of 2019.
I'm trying
Woo!
to avoid saying Happy New Year, even though I just did it right now, because I feel like if people come back and listen to this, like there's a point where people just get annoyed of people saying Happy New Year as the days from New
That's
Year's
a good point. Good
keep
point. Let's move it
going.
along.
Yeah, exactly. So first podcast of 2019. We'll leave it at that, and we'll just say Happy 2019, and we hope your 2019 has been running along smoothly. No matter what time of the year you listen to this, we do not discriminate. We love all the months. Okay, so
Uh,
so how has your week been?
this week has been something because we got back from Montreal, we got all settled in. I started work on Wednesday. Everybody got sick, so I've had even one of our dogs sick, went to the vet today. So it's been a lot of sleepless nights. And to be honest, the highlight was I ordered my Christmas jammies I wanted. They were $45 on sale for $14.99. I'm wearing them right now. I'm so happy.
Are they made of gold? What kind of pajamas are these? Because if you want them, maybe I want them.
Honestly, I almost ordered you a pair for next year.
What is it? What does it look like?
They're like snowflake printed. They're from Lacenza, and they're tight at the bottom and tight at the sleeve, so I don't have to worry about the whole thing.
Oh,
And they're like, oh my God, they're so comfortable. Like it's ridiculous. Like I want to wear them everywhere, and it's really not appropriate.
okay. If this when we're done recording this podcast, just send me a link. I think it sounds like I want it. Sounds like I should have it.
God. You? How was
Well,
your week?
it just feels like a blur because it's an extension of the holidays. So yeah, like Jackson went back to daycare on Wednesday. We were pretty thrilled about it, just to sort of calm down a little bit at home and get back into things, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It was a short week. All I can say is I kind of miss a 5-day GH week.
Oh
I really do. It feels weird. It's throwing me off. It was fine during Christmas. I find Christmas week was way busier prepping, but like coming into this week, I'm like, I could have watched some GH. I was around. I was available.
no, I could have got lost in it. That would have been great.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just get into it then. Okay. I'm gonna start with the end and then we'll crawl backward a bit. But I mean, with Ryan, we ended on the creepiest note ever.
Oh my God. Okay, when that camera action gets a little loose, I start getting so nervous. And lingering in the corner, and my TV kind of froze a little bit, so it was a little bit pixelated, then came to like fruition, and he was just there, and I was like, I gasped.
Yeah. Like the whole time, like the moment she got to the boxing gym and Sunny wasn't there right away, I was like, well, Sunny's at the home. Sunny's with his father. I did, and then I was just like, how could Kevin have
Oh God.
orchestrated this? Would he have gotten into someone's phone or something? So I don't know what's going on. And Johnny was watching it with me. And he's like, oh my gosh, Laura's gonna die. And I'm like, no, Laura's not gonna
No, she
die.
didn't.
And so I'm creeped out and I'm staring and I'm fighting with him, being like, she's not going to die. And I'm trying to process what's happening. But I'm thinking somebody's got to come in at the last minute. Like, I just don't see this being it. I don't see this being sort of, not that something would happen to Laura, but I don't know. I find it hard to believe that this is going to be the turning point.
I don't think this is it either. I think they want to make it look that way to get us all riled up a little bit, because if you think about the scene that Curtis and
Jordan,
Jordan,
his wifey, Mr. and Mrs.
right?
Commissioner, because apparently he's allowed all access.
I know, to the files and everything, it totally kills me, but he's the reason they're going to well, you know what? She's the one who discovered the license thing. And the fact that they showed that scene and them tearing through the files and trying to find a connection, bringing up his name again, and then that scene with Laura, I think they want us to think it's going to come to a head, but it's going to be stretched out longer.
A lot of people are kind of unhappy with the storyline. They just sort of want the Ryan thing to be over. But I don't know. Part of me is like, if it's over, then Kevin's back. Like, not to be mean or anything. I do like Kevin, but I'm just imagining for the actor himself, it's got to be fun playing a bad guy than Kevin.
Absolutely. And then what does
Like, how
that
do you go back
mean?
to that? How do you go
How to
back
go
to
back to
that?
the boring guy?
Oh, I feel bad saying it, but I mean, he's just a character. So yeah, Kevin's boring, and I mean, sometimes boring can be good, but I don't know. Ryan's been cool, except for the murder. He's been pretty cool.
Yes. And but the thing is about Kevin, when he gets back, he's still gonna have a lot of questions to answer. Like it's going to be
Yes.
interesting. Like even when this story comes to a close, there's still that whole other chapter of how are people going to look at him knowing that he was hiding this person this whole time and the interactions that he's had with him over the years. Like
Yeah.
how is that going to play out, you know?
Not good, not well at all. And the thing is, and like you said, everyone's going to have to deal with the aftermath. And the thing is, like police commissioners have lost their jobs for a lot less than having the actual serial killer you're seeking consult on the case. So I don't know if she's going to get to keep her job after that. I'm thinking that's where you get fired.
Oh, that's intense. I didn't think about that. And then what if
Because
like Anna becomes, the commissioner? Anyways, that leaves an opening for
Curtis. For Mr.
yeah.
Commissioner Curtis. No, but
So
it's just that, like, if you think back, I mean, people, I don't remember, I think Anna, one of them, like, I think it was probably Anna, but I mean, some of the commissioners have lost their jobs due to things like Sunny going free or criminals going free. They've lost it for things like that. So could you imagine it coming out that the serial killer had been consulting on the case the entire time?
oh.
So that's a bit worse. It's a bit worse. And I
I
just found it funny, like but I just thought it was really cute. Like Curtis and Jordan. I mean, I was just like, I don't know, I wish all jobs could be like that. You could just bring your spouse in and just get them involved. But it's almost like that conversation she had with Ned just didn't mean anything when they talked about the blurred lines between your professional and personal life.
I know. I was like, okay, so one, she didn't tell Lulu that
I'll
she
talk to Lulu and
out,
invite Curtis in to work with me. I think I got
right?
this.
I'm getting the hang of things. Don't you worry.
Oh man, but it just made me laugh because I just kept thinking, okay, we know that the PCPD doesn't solve anything, but you pointed out Jordan is the one who noticed the missing license and the past Ryan cases, and she's looking to see how this past stuff is connected with what's happening in the present. So could this be the first case that they solve?
I think it just might be like the fact, and what I thought was funny though, because of all our talks about like the PCPD and how that works out, she's like, "How come nobody noticed this before?" It's like, really, you're question.
But I mean, I really hope that they take the time to really, like you said, she asked that question. She's like, if we didn't know, how did it well, actually, no, I'm kind of laughing at myself asking that. I feel like, yeah, of course, everybody would know, but you guys. But I do hope she takes that question seriously. But I just find it funny because we're talking about Curtis being involved right now. And it makes me laugh because he did find the body. And I mean, who knows? She might have contracted him on to help. He is a private investigator. But then there's a part of me that strongly believes that there's this law in Port Charles. And so if you discover the body, you got to crack the case. So that's like the only way we solve anything is to get outside help because the PCPD typically won't be the ones to figure this out. So I just think that that whole thing is just super hilarious. But at the same time, I feel like because Curtis is involved, because we have an outsider outside the PCPD involved in the case, I do feel there's a stronger chance they may put two and two together.
Do you think that's in Lucy's travel guide? If you find a body in Port Charles, you still have to stay and help close the
I
case.
think I think it should be. I think if you're touring there, and I think if Sasha ever comes back, she should be aware.
Yeah, of the statistics, the hotel body rating, the how involved you have to be in solving crime,
Do you, anyways?
the Q&As in the back of the book,
But
the
I just
frequently
love
asked
their whole.
questions.
But like, wasn't it odd to have the show start and then you're watching like Lucy's journey and you're like, what's happening here?
I was so confused. I like stopped it 3 times to make sure I had the right date that I was watching, that it
That you thought it was
recorded
like a
properly.
special episode, that it was like one of those special holiday episodes. But the thing is, if I hadn't seen William Tipton, I think so, the kid who plays Cameron, if I hadn't seen his tweet around the holidays, I would have been confused because he actually tweeted out the Port Charles Guide, and they were advertising it as a real book, sort of a thing around the holidays. So something to check out. So because I had seen it was a real book, I was kind of laughing and like, okay, you inserted a commercial for your book.
And I don't
Cool.
even have my finger on the pulse. I need to like check that out.
Well, I feel like he was the only character to have like to have advertised.
He's like, this is so cool. Everybody else is like, oh.
So what did you think about Lulu and Ava's conversation?
It was really I kept staring at Ava, like she did her typical like get defensive, blah blah blah. But
Yeah,
then
first
she
reaction.
seemed kind of freaked out too. And
It's
the
like,
fact that he can, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I just like it's like you're right. When it comes to Ava, she just has sort of an automatic response, which is like you said, to be defensive. But I'm sorry, did you not enjoy how she dealt with Lulu? Like her
I
irritation
did.
with her, calling her on her crap, talking about the whole Ryan Chamberlain murder anniversaries and the fact that she's like, well, haven't you been like pushing that down everyone's throat, writing about it all the time?
No, I do love it. Out of all like the sass she gives everybody, I definitely enjoyed that scene tremendously. But I also like we said, she's one of those characters that we kind of love to hate. She has a little bit of a human side, but then you see who she really is. But when something sinks in for her or her reactions are so priceless, like when, she's like, I just want you to think about this, and he had the breakdown, and then, when
Yeah,
Kevin comes in and confirms the breakdown, and just like her face,
her
like
face,
the
yeah.
wheels are turning, like I don't know in what direction, but they are turning. And what freaked me out is what we keep talking about, where he's isolating her more. Like I know Lulu's not her friend or anything like that, but he just like cut off another like access to the outside world. Like you should, not talk to her. And everybody's trying to tear us apart. And she's like, yeah, yeah, everybody's trying to tear us apart. I'm like, what is happening right
I
now?
was actually kind of surprised she went along with that one because she seemed to genuinely go along with it, and I get it. The wheels are turning, but she's not likely to jump from, hey, he had a psychiatric break a few years ago to he murdered my daughter. It is a huge leap to make, but because the wheels are turning and she did seem to believe that there was something about him she should be cautious of, I kind of
Mm,
was surprised that she didn't think something was weird. So you have that conversation, you realize that, and then he seems to be getting a little angrier. I don't know. I
mm,
was a little surprised there. And even more so, I don't know if you noticed, he
mm.
does such a good job, like the actor playing Ryan, because when he had left Ava the first time and said something about answering the door and said, make sure
Yeah,
you know who's on the other side or something like that. Did you notice like the little subtle smirk on his face when he said that to her?
I didn't, but it's making me have
He's
goosebumps
so
now.
yeah, he's so scary. Like, I don't know. Like, yes, I understand like people just sort of want the storyline to come to a close. And I just hope that when it does, we get a really satisfying ending. But at the same time, there's just those really cool nuggets and moments that I don't know. I really like and appreciate how creepy it is.
Well, it's like when he was taping up the box, like when he was sitting there alone taping up the box, I was like, my gosh, she's gonna lose her mind. But it just lends to like he just wants to like close that chapter of her life, isolate her from everybody, just have her move on and forget about this huge thing that happened. It was intense and it was so precise and specific. Like you said, like the little smirks, the little glances, it's like all these things just tied together that you enjoy the crazy, but it's so freaky.
It is, and the thing is, like that scene more than that, it just shows how much he can control and how much people allow and how good he is at shutting down situations because he sort of shut down the conversation. He was like, "Okay, well, I got to get going on. This is what I was doing," and so he's really, really good at just controlling the scenario. And even when he went to go see Curtis and Jordan, I was like, you know what? He did a really good job. Like he turned the tables on them. No, they're not buying it because later on when we see them further investigating, it's clear that they realize, we were not the only ones present because Ryan tried to say that, like, tried to paint this picture to Curtis and Jordan was, hey, you guys were around at every murder. Maybe this has something to do with you. So he was trying to shoot them in a different direction. And to be honest, it was good. Like it was believable. But I was just surprised that so quickly they realized, okay, maybe we're not the targets and how they leapt to Laura. That kind of shocked.
Yes.
So he does do a good job, I find, of really getting people to do what he wants to do. And again, he's just really taking advantage of his status in society. He's a psychiatrist, he's a doctor, and everyone just sort of takes him at his word.
Way better said than the stuff I said earlier. Dead on. I agree with you.
Oh my gosh. So, something just even funnier, I find it's funny, but like this Drew Kim Julian situation here.
OMG. Okay, go for it, and then I'm gonna interject.
Okay, so I mean, I'm just going back and forth here. Well, Drew just seems so. I'm not wrong. He appears uninterested like all the time. Even when you think, because when you're watching a scene, you're like, okay, normal people might be interested, but I
Mhm.
don't think he is. Like he's just not showing anything towards Kim, and I was just like, does she not realize he's kind of rejecting you slash insulting you? So he sees her and he's like, you were here, I'm here, maybe you should go. and ring in the new year right. She's like, didn't we ring in the new year last night? And he's like, no. And then just go see Julian. It's like that whole thing. You're trying to be flirty and bring up last night when
Yeah.
you yourself brushed it off as a mistake because I feel like she was just trying to save face. And I don't know, she still has a smile on her face during this whole thing. And I'm like,
Well,
isn't he
that's
full on rejecting you right now?
I know, but like, okay, I agree with you exactly. That was the first thing I thought about. Kim had this like weird smile giggle, like she's in her own world, and he's just kind of standing there, like, what the hell is going on? So maybe she sees something, maybe that reaction to her is him being interested.
Maybe because we don't know what he was like before, so I have no idea. It's just awkward between Drew and Kim, and
Hmm.
okay, and so then she goes to see Julian, and I just love it because it's like I think it's also how people see themselves. So it's just sort of like how Elizabeth sees herself as I'm Elizabeth, I'm a porcelain doll. Everyone should love me. I'm so good, and everyone's so bad. And I feel like Kim, to us as an audience, I felt she was always a stable person, kind of like a normal person, an outsider to Port Charles who arrived, and she's relatively normal. But
Yes.
then she kind of made some crazy decisions. She's starting to become like a real citizen of Port Charles. But still, she still carries around this good girl type image, reputation, and clearly she believes that of herself. So the fact is, she goes to see Julian, and she's just like, let's celebrate New Year's, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you kiss somebody else. And she still keeps that even keel, good girl tone. And she's just like, it meant nothing. Let's move on.
I
And it's like,
know.
does it occur to you that he has feelings, and regardless of whether it meant anything to you, maybe he just doesn't like the girls that he's with to just be kissing other guys. And I'm so tired of hearing her say it was midnight. Like, I don't
I
know.
know.
I'm not sure. Like, I've watched the show. I know other humans. And just because it's midnight, people aren't just making out with other people. Like, it's not a spell. Like, you could decide whether or not you're going to kiss somebody or just like high five them or give them a hug.
Right. There were so many other options as opposed to touching lips.
And also, you won't stop talking about your past feelings to him. That's
Hmm.
also a thing regular people don't do all the time
Exactly.
anyway. But yeah, so I was just loving that conversation because part of me was just I was just laughing because for one, Julian is not only is he annoyed that he walked in on someone else, like she kissed somebody else, but come on, is she really going to deny that there's a bit more to it? It's not just any guy, it's your baby daddy, and you used to love him, and he was your everything, and you guys know this because this is something that Julian and Kim kind of knew and they sort of addressed in the beginning of their dating.
But she also said that they were reminiscing. But the thing is, she's the only one that can reminisce.
I
Like it didn't
know, but
make
I love
sense.
but like even that rationale to Julian, how does that help? It's I love how she says
I
it with a
know.
nice person, even tone,
Right?
like, but we were reminiscing and it was midnight, so we kissed. Like she keeps saying these
Like,
things like
duh.
it's helping. And I'm just like, it's not making him feel comforted because you're not like even if you can't spend your time with Julian, you're also not leaning on him. You're not texting him at the hospital. You're not leaning on him for that emotional support. You're not anything, Julian. And when he tried breaking up with her, aside from the kiss, he said, "Look, I think you should just focus on your family." And she was so appalled by that. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, are you joking right now? You broke up with him for the same reasons earlier, and he wouldn't let you." I get it. It sucks. He's going around doing it back to you now, but the point is, time has passed, and I think, like, honestly, he's right. Aside from not spending time with him, you're just not showing interest in him. Like, you're
Exactly.
just not showing any interest.
I agree. He's just like he can't just be there waiting around. Like she doesn't involve him in anything. He doesn't get to come to the hospital. Like she could have left. Drew has given her ample opportunity. She is the one at every turn that decides to stay.
And Oscar had his own plans. Like, let's remember that
Yeah,
part. The kid had his own plans on New Year's. And even more than that, the fact that she's not relying or even talking to Julian. Julian has his own relationship with your son. Like, you know what I mean? And he's still an outsider, which is odd.
I know. The whole situation is quite bizarre.
But I just thought it was hilarious because I'm like, only a woman could make you feel guilty for breaking up with her, even though she kissed somebody else. Because she walked
It's
away the
just
wronged party. And I'm
I
like,
know.
only a talented, skilled woman can do that. So I mean, that whole situation was ridiculous. But even more so, what annoyed me is pair that situation with her telling Elizabeth.
Oh my God, I know it was ridiculous.
And I'm just like, are you joking right now? Not only are you like, oh my God, Julian dumped me, and you're allowing Elizabeth to think that Julian dumped you because you weren't giving him attention, like this petty, petty thing. you were letting her believe. And I'm just like, how long is this girl going to go on without saying, well, I also kissed Drew and he saw that. That's also something that happened. And then she's like, and then he slept with somebody else. And I'm like, yeah, and why not? Because you proved to him in that moment. And that's the thing what she doesn't realize, like you said, there was a love triangle and Julian was the only one who knew it. And she
Yeah.
didn't realize that there was much more just to that kiss. And I'm kind of glad that he didn't bother explaining all those nuances to her. You know, like you've been leaning on him. There's clearly a connection there. It makes me uncomfortable. I've walked in on you guys multiple times. I don't like it. He wouldn't have a problem with it if she opened up to him, but she's not. Opened up
So
to Julian, I
true.
mean, and she's not. So I just thought that whole conversation with Elizabeth was just so stupid and ridiculous.
My favorite though out of that whole scenario was Curtis and Drew in the boxing ring having the
Yes,
discussion, which was so much more fun than the Kim and
it
Elizabeth
it
situation.
was. But once again, were you not confused and going, so, because didn't that scene with him and Curtis allude to the fact that, hey man, like did you guys get biblical? Like there's an
Oh, I
illusion there
laughed.
that there was chemistry. I'm still confused by Drew. I'm still confused. And I'm like, so are you telling him it's weird because I have no feelings for this woman? Or is there like I still have no idea.
I don't know, but I feel like because he brought it up to Curtis, like it seems like there's something, but I can't
That's what
tell from his.
I'm saying. There's scenes that you have that you're thinking, normal people, if you're having this scene and this conversation, that you're talking about someone you have feelings with. But then Drew kind of surprises you with like his lack of enthusiasm, and you're just like, okay. So if you really don't like her, just say it.
I
Well,
know,
I
but
mean,
I
he
think
has,
he
but say
does.
it super clear because she's not getting it. We're not getting it. I don't think anybody's getting it.
Like if he didn't like her, he shouldn't have kissed her. Like, I'm sorry, you're just
He did
confusing the
kiss her.
crap out of things. He's the one
Well,
that did it, you know?
it's even like Val, like you said, you could pull back at any moment.
Mm,
And Val did it, and neither did Drew. Like he engaged in that kiss and then was all weirded out after. It was like, okay, you were there, no? Like you did that. Like, what's wrong with you? But even funnier with the whole Kim and Elizabeth was when they were all like, who could be better than you? And then I think the clip might have went to Alexis, and I'm like, well, Alexis is not bad. Like if he did sleep with her, but it's clear that he did not sleep with Alexis. So now I'm wondering, there are no
no,
other women in Port Charles, so was he
no.
lying?
Oh, totally lying. But sorry, just one thing that made me think of when you were saying like how Kim is very skilled because she walked out of that situation being like the victim kind of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing she said to Elizabeth that made me laugh so hard was like, she's like, Julian just saw something out of context and
Oh
then
my
went and
gosh.
slept with somebody else. And I was like, really, dude? Really? Like,
What
you're
was
really gonna
out of
say this?
context of that? Oh, I'm sorry. The context in which all humans are supposed to go, oh, it's New Year's. I wasn't here. Right. She does have to kiss somebody. If not, she'll explode. Like, what? Seriously, I totally agree with that. And I'm so shocked I didn't write that down. But yeah, I kind of like just gasped at the TV, which is like, he saw something out of context. And I'm like, what was out of context? You're in a relationship with him. He assumes you're in a relationship and you're just with each other and that you're committed, and then you're making out with someone. So he's kind of like, no deal. I feel like you
Right?
have every right to go sleep with somebody else. Do what you want. She's not with you, and she's
Exactly.
making a fool of you.
And you're
But
just supposed
not
to
to
wait
Kim
to
because she's like,
hear.
because she did it nicely. Remember, she did it nicely. She talked about it nicely. So there was nothing wrong with it.
Okay, noted.
Okay, that's how you do wrong things
That's how
right.
you do
Just
it.
do it nice. Do it
Oh,
nice. Use
I
a nice voice.
okay. Remember that tagline. I'm gonna write that down.
So, what did you think of Drew's conversation with Hank?
Oh, there were so many scenes with Hank, and I was emotionally confused because I felt like he was genuine in parts of the conversation when he was speaking to Drew and his gratitude towards all of that. And then there was like all those other scenes. So in that moment when he was speaking to Drew, I felt that he was being truthful. You?
I feel like an idiot when I was watching that scene because I'm like, the last time I saw him with Jason, he pretended to be bad at pool and then he was good at pool. And I'm like, ooh,
Right.
evil. And then he's talking to Drew and I'm like, ooh, he's so nice. And I was just like, I'd be horrible at this whole thing because I'm so gullible. I just believe everything he says. But then I get thrown because later he does like a weird, evil smile. So I'm like, I have no
Right?
idea what this guy is up to. And I mean, with soap operas, I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's so predictable. But I still get surprised when I watch GH. Like him having that conversation with Drew, and then when we see him later as Shiloh.
So when I saw Shiloh, I first split second thought like, okay, is it a twin
Me
situation like
too.
Jason and Drew, and that like maybe it was a whole like what was that evil doctor's name that was involved in it? Like
It
maybe he just
wasn't
wanted to
that
learn
evil.
about the
Dr.
situation.
Maddox.
Oh yeah, Dr. Maddox. I'm like, okay, maybe it has to do with like a twin situation. But then when it all came out, I was like, oh, I don't like this sleazy Shiloh.
So that whole thing with Shiloh, again, I don't know what's happening like at all anymore. I'm so confused because it's like, yes, I still think it's a cult, but then at the same time, I'm like, it just seems like a gathering of individuals who just don't like the citizens of Port Charles. Maybe it's just Sam, I don't know, but it's just you have like Daisy. Well, okay, we were led to believe that Daisy is sort of has this connection to Sam and Hank has this connection to Drew. But now I have no clue at all. Like I really have no clue at all. And Mish Fisher 12 says, I'm guessing Hank Shiloh is Linda Black too. And so I was having a conversation with her and I think Daisy is Linda Black, but now I'm kind of like rethinking the whole thing. Is it really what it seems? Is it possible that Shiloh is having Daisy do things and she doesn't actually know what she's
Mm.
really doing?
Okay, did you catch the comment that he made that I felt like it was very directed to Sam?
Yep,
He
about
said being Hank and his name being Shiloh and why he decided to do that.
yeah, something like new life, new name.
Exactly because the old name can carry blah blah blah. But I felt like it was very directed.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I don't know. Like like I said, I think that maybe he's gotten Daisy to do certain things for him. So maybe Hank was the one she wronged, but really somebody wrongs you and you make a whole cult about it. And I'm just so confused how Drew fits in if that's actually a real connection because I'm sorry, what are the odds? You're after Sam, and then you find Drew, and then he didn't even know that his son was living with him.
Yes, like it's so many tie-ins. It's so weird. Like I don't know what's gonna happen here, but it's gonna be big.
I think so too, which is why which is why I'm like so confused because there's so many different ties that I'm not really sure what the angle is at all. But Sheevy's 10 says something fishy is up. But as always, Mr. Morgan to the rescue. Very true.
So true. I love seeing them together. Do you want to like rewind it a little bit and talk about how Christina walks in on their kiss?
Oh my, as usual, she kind of walks in and disrupts him. Like Jason just has a heart of gold at this point and also massive patience because he was just finally
Yeah,
about to get
something's
it on.
massive. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'm just well, the poor guy has New Year's and he's thinking, yep, gonna seal the deal. If anything, we're already in a hotel. But then a dead body arrives. Well, it doesn't arrive at like it's there, but still, it kind of ruins the mood when you have to answer questions to the cops for a while.
But he did say it's time we do something about it, like when they're like kissing
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because they were pretty much together. Like the whole night sealed the deal. The whole New Year's sealed the deal. From the moment he went to go pick her up, it was very clear that they were together. They were a couple at the whole New Year's event. And it was just finally time to make that damn thing official. But I really loved the shift of Sam from, okay, I'm Sam, we're like this item. But then Christina walks in and she becomes a sister. And I mean, I know that they've always been sisters, but I find this is the first time you see Sam in this protective role. She's a mom now and now Christina lives with her, so it's not like before where she kind of just gives her outside opinion because Christina lived elsewhere and had her own life or was living with Alexis and was playing mediator. Now she's dealing with her head on and sees her heading straight for stupidity.
I know. I really liked seeing Sam in that role. I especially liked their interactions together at the home. Like
Yeah, but
it
even
got
before
intense and I liked it.
I really, really did that. I really did too. But even before they got there, not just Sam being sisterly, but I kind of even like Jason. Like it just goes to show you how the characters evolve. Because yes, Jason is like the bad boy, but he's been the bad boy for like a bajillion years, and now he has his own kids. And so it's just different watching both of them be parental together toward Christina, which I thought was hilarious. Because even Jason was confused, and he's talking, and this is not the Jason we used to know doing all this talking. And then even when we got there, his reaction was priceless
Oh
to
my God,
Hank
so
Shiloh.
true. Oh my God, but what about his face when Sam is like was asking about if Christina was sleeping with Shiloh? His face was
Oh,
hilarious.
I know. It just makes it seriously makes those scenes. And I find like all the ones that include Christina, like especially when she's walking in on Jason and Sam, or like there's always a comedic element because there's always the third person out of the conversation that's doing something a little funny that we're noticing. So I thought that was hilarious too. But you're talking about the intensity, and that's the thing. Like Sam was badass. Like she did not back down whatsoever. She did not care. She didn't care.
Oh
She was
yeah. loved it. She's fierce.
She was asking tons of questions. She was giving it to Shiloh. I love the look that she turns around and gives Christina when Christina keeps trying to pipe up an answer. And I get what she's saying. She's explained it to Jason later. I'm just annoyed because Christina is not answering for herself. It's obvious she's speaking Shiloh's words. And she's basically just like regurgitating everything that she's read from those books. And
Yes.
so I just love the look that she's giving her. She's like, you have no clue. You have no clue. And I just feel so bad because I'm like, how can one person just, how can she just, like, it's one bad decision after another.
I know, like Christina and her, what she's doing, it's just unfortunate because she has the potential. Like we've talked about where they could take her character that would be like really interesting, taking over the industry for Sunny, doing all these things, making her stronger. And I'm desperately hoping that out of this situation, something good is going to come out of it finally for her. Because, like you said, it's just a string of very poor decisions. But yet she has such a great character and such strength to do like different things in the soap opera.
Yeah, I agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. My hope is that regardless of wherever this storyline goes, that it's somewhere good for Christina. But we were talking about how Sam was drilling Hank about money in particular, and Sydney Schools said this: scams and blackmail is how the cult money is made.
Ooh,
I
I
really
love
like
it.
that. And I'm like, I honestly think she's totally dead on and right. Because they brought up the money, and I just feel like if you're going to be bringing up things and saying things, you got to be doing it for a reason. So obviously, the money is really important. And I think she's right in terms of where he's getting the money.
I think so too. Like, and maybe that's where Daisy fits into the whole situation, you know?
I think so too. Oh yes, that's possible. I don't know. She could be a minion, or he could be like actually blackmailing her to stay and possibly to recruit Christina in particular. There's also, okay, so we talked about like whether Hank is real or not, and we just don't know what to think of his backstory. You know, we have no idea what his connection is to Sam, but there seems to be one because of that like cutting comment that he made toward her, and then
Yeah.
his history with Drew. So we have at the Pretty Pixie on Twitter, Melissa Scholes. She said this: I'm more inclined to believe that Drew was part of something in his service days that Hank is going to
Hmm.
try to blackmail him over. I trust Jason's instincts. Hank is no bueno. I agree that Hank's not good. So who knows who the target really is? Like,
Hmm.
does he have something separate on Drew? But I feel like, I don't know. Like, at this point, Drew doesn't remember anything. So what would he care?
So true. And what would it matter? And what would it change in his life at this point in time? So like, I'm just looking at that scene, thinking about exactly all those things. Who is he connected to? Who is he trying to harm, blackmail? Is Christina part of bringing Sam into the mix, which is bringing Drew into the mix? Like, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't
So
know who the
apart
target is. Yeah.
so my head's like swirling in this whole scene, but there were like two parts that were again super funny for me. It was when Christina introduces them when they come into house. She's like, "This is my sister with her Jason."
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. When they said that, I was like, "Where's my Jason?" I'm like, that was just such a hilarious introduction because, well, I think it reflects the ridiculousness of the situation, but also Christina's view of the situation too.
Exactly, which is always so funny, so pointed and perfect. And then there was another, just like literally the look on her face when Shiloh hands or like gives Sam his book. And then Sam looks at Christina because I guess she may have said something in that moment. And Sam's eyes got so big. Like it was such a mom look. Like, you just shut
Yes.
the front door so that I can get this situation under wraps. So just like stop. But it was just all in one deathly look.
But like she's mastered it because that's exactly what was making this scene great. It was not only was she on Hank slash Shiloh, but it was all the looks that she was giving Christina simultaneously that was super hilarious and funny. But really creepy though, like all that was funny. But that shift that he had when he was alone with Christina, kind of blaming her
I
for,
know.
I was just like, I could barely follow. I'm like, what are you saying to this poor girl?
I know, super creepy. But again, it's like that kind of like we're talking about, like the whole Kevin Ryan thing, that whole controlling, that
Yeah.
whole making her feel bad for her reactions, isolating her, making her feel just that she's not doing something good, and how to like she constantly needs change, so constantly needs to depend on him because he knows what's best for her reaction.
Yeah, you're right. Ryan should be in the cult business too.
Or what is it? What did he call himself, Shiloh? How he makes his money? A life coach.
Aw. Let's
I know. Let's
let's
move
talk
on.
let's talk about something sad.
No, sad, or do you want to?
Sad.
I had a funny thing before we get to sad, or do you want to go sad?
No, I want to go sad and heartbreaking and heart wrenching. No, I'm kidding. It's Mike. I love Mike.
So do you want to go Mike or do you want to go Julie and Alexis and her hungry eyes that are still so hungry?
I think we're gonna need her hungry eyes after Mike to
Go
pep
for
us
it.
back up. So I mean, there's not much there other than there was a lot, but I just mean like it was just really sweet watching how much Mike loved Yvonne and he was willing to let her go completely,
Oh, yeah.
just to sort of have her stay in a place that she knew. But at the same time, like I just appreciate the whole storyline because Mike's storyline could have easily been, oh look what Sunny's going through, but it was so much more than that. It's you're seeing Sunny's perspective and you're also getting Mike's perspective. Like you're actually getting just Mike's separate story from all this. And it's sad. And I mean, I know that it's hard for people to root for Marcus because of the way he's been acting in regards to his wife, but I kind of like the depiction. It is hard. It's hard to accept that you're losing somebody. And he summed it up super well on today's episode. But the reality is so hard because, you know, his wife is ill and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to take care of you. But then with this particular disease, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to love you and I'm going to support you. But I also have to watch you be with somebody else.
Oh, it is absolutely heart-wrenching. I felt terrible for him. Like I just wanted to give him a big old hug because exactly that. Like his heart is just being shattered in so many different ways that he picked this, person as the love of his life. He's watching her fall in love with somebody else.
It's so hard and it's heartbreaking. And I think it's harder for Marcus in a way that's different for everybody else involved in the
Hmm.
situation. But the thing is, for his sake and for his well being, he's come to a place, at the very least, he can accept reality. And I mean, he does have Stella there to support
Oh
him
no.
now that they're closer to being on the same page. So that might be interesting going forward.
I agree. I like this like calm, kind of chill, level-headed Stella. Like this can work. This works for me.
Oh yes, I am so happy for that Jordan versus Stella drama to be gone. Like I like this.
Hmm.
Like you said, I like the peace, I like the calm, and let's just get Stella. I was about to make a rhyme. Let her get it on. Let Stella have her moment. Oh, I get it now. Stella got her bring back. I didn't even see that coming. Okay.
You're a hilarious genius.
Okay, so Julexis, as they are known, go for
Oh,
it.
I dig it. I dig it.
Share,
Okay.
share, share.
That scene, okay, it's one of the funnies on my list. I tend to, I guess, write down all the funnies. So she's sitting there. He's like, oh, kind of like, what are you doing here? He's all grumpy and blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, I have a meeting with a client. And I loved his reaction. Well, don't you have a ton of conference rooms for?
Right? Easy for, like I'm sorry, but as an audience, she's a lawyer and they're not together and she wants to keep her distance, but she's always there.
Mm-hmm. And with those eyes, that girl is hungry.
It's the
Feed
second
her.
time because there was
Oh, sorry, that came out so.
Okay, I have a response to that. So Woodstrix on Instagram said this. She's like, there's a lack of men, so they recycle relationships. Boring, and these women look like they don't know how to move on. So she's talking about Alexis because I don't know. I agree with you. She does look hungry. Like, hello, the way she was staring at him on New Year's, much less
Oh,
every time she's around him.
it's intensified though. I feel like it's like just kicking it up a notch.
Okay, so this is the first time I did this. I am talking about at the Pretty Pixie sign, mentioning her again because she also made another like super funny comment. She said she made this is about Alexis. She may
Mhm.
not be sipping on cocktails anymore, but Alexis sure is thirsty. Remember, when he threatened to kill you, sister, seriously, move on. Go hit on the new guy, Hank. He's handsome. And you can see what he's up to. Let's make Alexis's love life great again.
Oh my God, that is amazing. That is a great freaking comment.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Okay. So, I mean, there are some people who really would like to see her back together with Julian. So, we have Rosie.jpg. I like them together more than I like Kim and Julian together. And also, Sharti said, go, Alexis, get your man back. Will she? Will she do what needs to happen to get it done? Will she
I
go
don't
after him?
know. I feel like it's gonna be like a one and done and then back to Kim.
Yeah.
Like I know it sucks, but
So,
I
you
don't
basically,
see that.
you don't see the longevity between him and Alexis.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's going to be very short-lived. Alexis just never has a happy ending. Like it's sad to say, but it's so true. Her track record is horrible.
Okay, so there's a bit of a debate here because this is how I feel. This is the first time I've seen Alexis like this because I've never really seen her chase a guy. And she may not be actively chasing Julian, but her facial expressions say something different. And at FBM 2005, so Mary Shelton on Twitter said this. She saw a bit of fear and certainty, and she says this reflects comments she saw in SOD recently, so that's Soap Opera Digest. So she says Alexis doesn't really chase guys. She attracts bad guys. And
Oh.
so I don't know. Like I totally get that because it's true. She attracts the wrong kind of guy, but I have to admit, like there's a sense of her pursuing Julian, though indirectly. Like she's not keeping the space between them that she could, that she actively could. Like she doesn't have to be at Charlie's. It doesn't matter that your daughter works there or not. It's not like she
Mm-hmm.
visits Sam at work. She's not visiting Molly at the university. Like she doesn't have to be there. To my understanding of the neighborhood, Charlie's is this more like hipster up and coming neighborhood. I highly doubt her law firm is in that area. I would assume it's more around the Metro Court in this like high-end area. I know oh gosh, I cannot believe this because now the Port Charles guide would actually come in handy. I cannot believe I like walked right into that one. Yeah, like this is my understanding of the city. I cannot believe I'm talking about the layout of Port Charles, a fictional place. But yes, I just did.
Can we make this like a business expense? Is that like a thing?
Getting the book and
Yeah.
being able to answer this question. Yeah, so I don't know, like that whole debate, I just feel like if Alexis doesn't want to chase anybody and is done with Julian and he makes her anxious or nervous or all that stuff, she doesn't have
Mhm.
to be around him.
Oh, 1000%. And he even said too, which I totally forgot. He's like, Christina's not even working tonight.
Yeah, like Julian is he's sort of fed up with all the ladies. I think he's fed up with all of their BS. One ex-girlfriend is making him go to couples therapy. He's not with her anymore. It's like, oh, just let it go. I almost slit your throat. I didn't mean to. And then he has the other one where she's kissing Drew and he's probably like at a loss. He's like, I drive women crazy like I do with Alexis. I don't drive them to my daughter's ex-husband. That's not my thing.
Huh.
So
But the more
it's kind of weird.
grumpy and the way he's changed, I have to admit, like Julian has moved up in my like hot factor eater. I'm like, what is my
I
benchmark here?
agree. What's your benchmark?
Anyways, yeah, I really like them. I like their scenes together, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens next because he's down
So
in the
you want
gutter.
something, a little something to happen with him
A
and Alexis.
little
A little
something because
something, but nothing permanent.
a little something that won't last very long.
Okay, that sounds good. So now that we're like in this sort of Charlie's frame of mind, let's talk New Year's brunch. So I'm sorry, Nina's reaction to Obrecht showing up. Obviously, she was the last to know. So that was super funny when she saw her come to celebrate the New Year's with them.
But like Nina's reactions to everything is like so friggin' awesome. And I just it's next level. She's like, "Oh, weren't you supposed to be in jail?" Or like just I can't remember what she said, but it was so funny.
But I really like it because she has an outsider reaction to the crazy in Port Charles, even though she's used to it. But I love that about her. It's really funny. Like she kind of represents us sometimes in the way that she reacts to certain things. But that's
I
what makes it really hard for me because I get all these characters have layers,
hmm?
but it's just like I love Nina and I want to love her all the time. But it's really hard for me to love her when it comes to this whole Charlotte Aiden situation.
Yes, totally. I really do not like that, Nina.
I don't. And worst of all, okay, it was kind of entertaining. Like, it was super entertaining, the whole self defense course today. I have to admit, totally enjoyed. Okay, so the thing with that, okay, I loved it. This is what I wanted. Okay, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready. This is juicy. This is what I wanted. I wanted it to go down when Lulu showed up at Elizabeth's house. I wanted that Elizabeth to be there and just rip everybody to shreds, whether it made sense or not. I enjoy that. And she
Yes.
didn't do it. And she explained at today's episode that she doesn't hold Lulu responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And she makes a point of blatantly telling this to Nina. I was just dying. It was so funny. She's like, I don't blame Lulu. She goes, well, that leaves me and Valentine. And Valentine's like, I didn't say anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh. That is so Elizabeth. Like, that right there is Elizabeth. She stirs the pot and then she's like, I don't know. It's just like, really? Really?
Classic.
But I have to admit, like, Nina sort of started it. You know, you have a teacher checking in. They're like the worst foursome to be sitting together, just by the way. You know, like Willow, Nina, it's just a bad mix. Maxie and Elizabeth, they're good now. They're in a stable place. But I mean, she slept with one of her husbands at the time. Like she had slept with Lucky, and they've always had a bit
Ew.
of a rocky relationship. But obviously, things are good now. It was just a super weird combo of women, but obviously really entertaining. And I would not have wanted to be Maxie in that situation. The fact that she's the one taming everybody says a lot about
I
their behavior.
know. Well, and also about her growth, about like how
Yes,
she's
yes.
changed over the years and who she's become and her as a parent. And Chase was like super cute in the scene because he's like oblivious to everything going on. I loved his reaction at the end when Willow like agreed to go on a date with him and she's like, "Oh, I need to get away from all this drama." He's like, "There was drama," and he had like a cute little smile. I was like, "Oh, you're amazing. How do we register for the next class?"
I know. He's like too busy being cute to like notice anything that's happening. But the thing with Nina, like I couldn't believe it when she was like, when the teacher was asking Elizabeth how Aiden was, and Nina was like, "Charlotte's fine too," and I'm like, "Are you joking right now?
I
Nobody
know. That's
cares
so
how Charlotte's
brazen.
doing." Right? And so I mean, like, this is one of those times where like I'm on Elizabeth's side and I try to justify it by telling myself you're on Aiden's side. So you're still good. But that's the thing with Nina. It's just she's first of all, she's delusional when it comes to Charlotte. But what bothers me is that at the end of the day, they're both kids. And part of me is like, do you need to talk to Aiden? Because like the things you're saying about Charlotte are not relevant to this situation. Like you keep talking about like she keeps being like, I want to empower. Yeah, you can be empowered, but you don't have to pummel other people to have power. And so the fact that she keeps painting this as like, I want to empower Charlotte and I don't want anyone to take away any of that. This is not the situation at all. And the fact that she is diminishing everything about Aiden and kind of like he's being coddled and all this, I was like,
Oh,
really? I mean, it's one thing to say it to Elizabeth, but I just feel like they're both kids. And I feel like maybe somebody should take her to see Aiden for her to kind of just have a dose of reality to snap Nina back to reality because we all know she's an amazing person, but she's
mhm.
literally lost it, I find, when it comes to this situation. Like she's very not like she's just not in touch with reality. She's not being like compassionate like the person that we know her to be,
Right. It's very true, but I also think very representative of some real life stuff. So I
which
like
is
no, I was gonna say, I kind of like the way that they're dealing with this. I like that there's this side to her that, and I think it is really important that she sees Aiden, and that might bring her down to reality, seeing because she does love children, she does love kids, and she doesn't want to see them hurt. So as much as what she said was hurtful to Elizabeth, seeing him and witnessing what it's doing to him, I think will very much change the way she deals with Charlotte.
I think so too. And you're right with what you said that it kind of depicts the reality of these types of situations. And that's exactly what the actress had tweeted a while back when the storyline started because we had talked about this on our past podcast that she had to make a point when the episode aired where she first was disapproving of the whole situation to just say, I don't agree with what my character is saying, but it's important to represent all the different reactions to this type of parenting situation.
Exactly. Like we keep saying, they keep bringing in more real world things. You know, the comedy, the people who are really not from Port Charles and have our reactions, the viewers. So bringing that other layer to this, I think, just adds to the story and makes us watch more because she is a character that we love, but she just has this other side to her.
Well, to that point about JH handling more real life things, it's just so funny because they actually said that on the Stone Cold Jackal podcast this week. Finola was on it, so the actress that plays Anna. So listening to
Yes,
that
I love
interview,
her.
she's way funnier than you would imagine, and it made me like her again because in the show I've been annoyed with her lately,
Yes.
and so I love the interview. I loved hearing her. And it was so funny because Bradford, so the actor who plays Spinelli, they actually mentioned that the General Hospital was one of those soap operas who didn't steer too far from reality. Like they didn't have too many fantasy based storylines. They made the exception of the Ice Princess, but they were actually talking about that a lot of the storylines were more rooted in reality.
Ooh, I have to listen to that one.
So we're
Okay.
right when we say this. You know, we're not crazy when we're picking up on all these things. But yeah, definitely worth a listen, that episode. But another thing, so yes, the thing about Nina, we love her, annoyed with her perspective on the situation. But another thing that kind of got me, because she is back with Valentine, fine, whatever, that stuff will come out about what he's doing and how he's lying to her about Sasha. But the fact that she's back to blindly defending him, because she sort of did that during those interactions about Valentine, like being
Mhm.
defensive about him. And that was also one thing that even before when she was with Valentine, I always loved her. But whenever she came up against other people where she had to defend Valentine and she did it so blindly, even though he was guilty of a lot of the things people were accusing him, I hated that because I found it made her look foolish because obviously, I mean, she doesn't know, but we know he really did do all those things.
It's gonna suck when it comes out so hard.
It is. But one last thing, and I don't know if you caught this, but I said this earlier in the podcast. I feel like if you have interactions with another character, and we love it when the characters are mixing,
I
but I
think
feel
you're
like
gonna say what I think you're gonna say. Go ahead.
okay, 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 I'll finish my sentence and then you get to say it and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. So I kind of feel like every interaction you have is meaningful. So what pair do you think I'm talking about?
Oh no, I'm scared. Okay, Elizabeth and Willow.
Oh no, whatever. What about them?
I love the way they were. I almost look like they're friends
Like
in
they're
real
friends?
life. Yeah,
Okay,
like if
well, good
they're
for Elizabeth
reacting
having
a
another
bit
friend.
like I know it's
It's
kind
the
of
good
cute.
girl group: Kim, Willow, and Elizabeth.
Right, love
Do
it.
bad things to say it nicely.
Okay, you go with what you're flown with.
Okay, Maxie and Chase.
Ooh,
She
yeah.
had two bouts of interactions with him. She had a brief conversation at the start. I mean, look, I know he's obviously with Willow, into Willow. They're going for drinks. That's happening. It's clearly happening. And I remembered that Maxie sort of has a history with Chase in the sense that she met him shortly after Nathan had passed, finding out that this was the guy replacing her husband. So I mean, she's familiar with him. But then she just has this brief conversation about parenting with him, and they're giggling and laughing. And I was just like, okay, well, that's interesting. I mean, he could have been doing those scenes with Willow. He could have been doing the scenes with Elizabeth.
So true. They've been putting a lot of different women in front of him lately.
Right? And I just feel like he pairs well with a lot of them.
I
Like we threw
know.
out Lulu, we threw out Val, we threw out, I mean, Willow is happening, obviously. But like,
Christina.
yes, Christina and now Maxie. And I'm just like, he's got options. But do the women have options? I'm thinking maybe that person is right. Woodstrix, when she was like, there's a lack of men. Maybe
Oh
there is.
yeah.
Maybe there is. So yeah, so that was this week, and I don't know. I'm really looking forward to our 5-day GH week again.
I am okay. I have one last thing to add here. Okay, so that scene in the gym with the vet who got the job with Sunny, that
Did
wonderful
you know that?
interaction with Mike.
Do you know who he is?
I don't know who he is, so I googled him,
Okay,
and then
go
the
ahead.
picture that came up, I was like, whoa. So if you Google him, just ignore the
Whoa.
picture.
Okay. This is not the first time with him on the show, by the way.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I'm kind of confused as to what role he plays. I know that he has a sister. I know he has a relationship with
It was
Maxie, but
Amy,
I really don't know.
Nurse Amy. I don't know
Amy.
if you were watching that when the
I
whole
do
Ask
know
Man
Amy.
Landers storyline.
Oh no, but I do know who the character is.
Yeah, so that's his sister. She hasn't been in a while, but he's popped in.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I loved the interaction with him and Mike. He fits in really well. I like his chemistry with Maxie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I really like that scene, and I just thought, hey, this is a new guy. I'm gonna Google it, and there was the lovely surprise. And then I was like, okay,
He's a
I
head
won't share
writer
it
on
with
the show.
everybody. That too. I was like, what the heck? Like, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I had him on our Instagram because he was on the show, and I'm like, yeah, he was a character. And then I would see the name on GH in the credits, and I'm like, huh? I'm like, that name looks familiar. Isn't that insane?
Yes, it is ridiculous because he's like super young, and just I'm very impressed with his skill set, and he's been involved
Yeah,
in
his
other
skill
soap operas.
set.
At
That's
it.
what you're impressed with. Is that what came up when you Googled him?
I'm gonna stop talking now.
Oh, yeah. let's end it there. Everybody, Google his skill set. And if she bothered to remember his name, you would be able to do this right this second.
Oh boy. Thank
Okay,
goodness
so
someone I know doesn't listen to the podcast.
I'll hear about this later. Johnny listens to it. So you have a good night and have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.